That is very important because, you know, I don't have brothers and sisters myself, but I do have cousins. And he would sit next to me, and, you know, he would support most of the family members. And when I was absent or I wasn't around, he would fill in the blanks for me. He was very supportive to help me. We had a strong relationship for both of us. You know, maybe if you have other children in your family, help so that they're included. That's very important for your deaf child. They can help possibly where the parents are too busy to help out and they're doing other things. That sibling or cousin can help out. The next one, I'll tell you a sample later that is very, very, very common actually. And also very frustrating to the deaf people. I'll tell my mom to tell me something and she'll say, no, I'll tell you later. You don't feel accepted in that case. I understand the parents, you want to include you in the conversation, maybe they'll say, hold on, and then be able to explain it later, but you have to be able to make it so your child feels as though they're not left out. Even now, and I'm 26 years old, my parents, you know, I'll say, what are they saying, And they'll say, oh, I'll tell you later. You know, how does that make me feel? I remember as a child, I was about 5, 6, 7 years old. Well, with children who are 2, 3 years old, they can't communicate. You have to understand that. That negative communication isn't clear for them. And maybe they feel left out and everything's overwhelming going over their heads. That's going to happen. You have to prevent that from happening. Also, one-sentence response. Oh. Do you have any examples of that? I slipped my mind at this time.
Well, I mean, I think in translation we see it often. In fact, I remember watching a comedy show, Saturday Night Live, and they have the interpreter, right? Interpreting Chinese, for example, and the person is going, and all of a sudden the interpreter, yes. He didn't cut it. He didn't cut it. It doesn't cut it, right? So it happens for hearing when we hear that in a different language. The same thing for the deaf child. Now, for the deaf child, we being part of a community and we having a community support and we having the ability to speak and that doesn't affect us that much. But when we are talking to a deaf child, this is a missed opportunity to build self-esteem, belongingness, and just pulling them into closer that.
Okay, if you have family members that are more fluent in ASL, make sure that you sit them close to your deaf child. That way they have easy access to communication. Or, you know, if you can't sign yourself, like my cousin who always sat next to me made sure that I understood what was going on at the table. So do whatever you can in that situation. The good one that I wish that I had growing up myself is developing a signal. You know, that way that the kid understands what's going on, what's happening. Like a tap. You know, Mom, I don't understand what's going on. And then develop some sort of signal so that the child can cue you when they don't understand what's going on. Something very simple. And then you yourself can go ahead and explain to the kid what they missed. Like I told you there, be careful with your facial expressions. They will notice it immediately that something's happened. Maybe, you know, your facial expression meant one thing, but your kid will catch it immediately and then feel, did you do something wrong? You know, they don't know exactly what your intention is with that. Your children and your family, you want to make sure that they feel included in the calls. And if your deaf child has deaf friends as well, maybe it's a good idea to include them in your traditions. You know, that maybe they don't have family support at their house, so you can include them also, and your child will also have the support of their deaf friends as well.
Yes. I remember in the clinic, we saw a family who was very well back, a Spanish family that all of the family, not particularly Spanish, but this particular family had this very strong sense of family, that the family has to be together. together and that the family had to share the time with each other and enjoy time with each other and so forth. This mother was upset because during the holidays, the 16-year-old, the teenage girl, wanted to invite a dead friend. And although she liked the dead friend, she felt that it was a time for the family to unite, and this is a sacred time for the family. What this person didn't understand is that for a lot of deaf people, that friend is family. Because many times, that their friends is able to communicate with them, be able to share experiences with them, be able to have a much deeper connection, just for the mere communication than other family members, maybe a cousin I never see, or maybe a sibling that is moves away or lives away. So we have to keep that in mind.
Okay, I also want to add, I just thought of something now that I want to add. After your child, if they're old enough to understand what they're unable to hear, and then that way you can help them and they'll be able to communicate with other family members. My parents still, they think they assume that I'm more hearing than I really am. That's just their way. But now it's been like 2 or 3 years that I've been explaining to them that I can't hear what they're explaining to other family members. And that I can't lip read. I need to make sure, if something's not blocking their mouth, that way I'm able to understand them. I need that visual access. If the child is, say, 5 years old, ask them anyways. What can you understand? What can you hear clearly? If we're sitting all the way over here, can you read our lips still? Do you understand me? Can you see the signs from over there? Make sure that you understand what your child is going through. They're going to feel, wow, my parents really care. They cherish me. That's great. Some of you maybe have relatives that live far away from you, and every once in a while, they just meet them every once in a while. They'll go there to visit. You have to make sure that those relatives understand the needs of the deaf child. Make sure that you explain to them, to those relatives, every so often, and make sure that they include the deaf child as well. Use games that maybe don't require a lot of language skills, like charades, like Uno, like Jenga, different games like that. Dictionary, simple games that don't require too much language.
Okay, let me see. These are the things that we can remember. We want to we're in the business of building memories for them. I think we Christmas carols, watching movies. Before planning, incorporate them, and make sure that they understand as much as possible. Adapt your family traditions in order to incorporate deaf child. You might have for example, one of my family traditions, right, Christmas, we wait until 12 o'clock and then we start giving gifts, right? And every time you receive the gift, in my family, you would have to speak in front of everybody, and then open the gift to speak and the person that gave the gift or something. It's a very oral tradition. It's a very language-heavy tradition. If there was a deaf child in my family, an adaptation to that tradition is maybe doing something with acting, where the visual and the visual more than the auditory is the communication, the way that we're communicating. Some acting, something funny, maybe a funny walk. When you go and receive the gift, to incorporate it, not eliminate the verbal completely, but incorporate the acting and the visual aspects of it. Hire an interpreter. And this might be, I don't know, it's funny, but sometimes it's a novel idea for some people. Hire an interpreter for weddings, for sweet 16 parties, baptism, funerals, where the child, although it's going to cost some money, but the child, it has total inclusion to that activity, especially when that activity is very formal, and there is certain context that is going to take place, a certain order of events.
I understand that you have to pay for the interpreter and that requires a lot of money, but your child has an interpreter in the school system and maybe they could ask that interpreter, if you don't mind, maybe you can interpret for my child's wedding or Sweet 16 or whatever the case may be. Most of the time they're willing to help out. Understand that the kid, they have to be included in that communication. That's very important.
What's been your experience?